A tale of subterfuge, manipulation, betrayal, and pain, localized entirely within a game store? More likely than you may think. Roll post. This has been, and continues to be, a terrifying experience. There is every bit of fear that just expressing this whole ordeal will somehow come back to me and the attacks will continue. I'm currently looking into a peace bond for my safety, and I'm not going to be silenced. So, where to begin? I'm an event organizer at a Warhammer 40k Crusade group. An interesting cross between the large-scale battle format of 40k as a game, but with the TTRPG elements of playing your army's story, leveling your units, and more. It's quite enjoyable, and I take great pride in being a safe place for those often shunned by the community as a whole. We are an LGBT-exclusive group. I myself am bi and trans. I try to be as accepting as possible, even to individuals that I don't like or have certain reputations within the various communities around the city. I believe everyone at least deserves a chance. There's another group in town which recently ended their yearly run. I could have a lot to say on that matter, but I will sum it up with that it involved gaslighting and a couple of admins rigging their own prizing system to walk away with a profit. Since the main concern was the money, there were a lot of individuals with questionable natures. One such was the subject of today's story, our nice guy. I was sick on the day of his joining, so my admins were charged with signing him in and getting him a game for the night. So, I didn't get his name until later that night when the online document we used to track the campaign got updated. Immediately, I paled a bit. I knew the nice guy and wouldn't have labeled him as such at the time. See, my experience with him was late in October 2021. What's important of this date is that a certain disease's shots had been out and available publicly for some time at that point. I got my second in August, and that was mildly late because they didn't even sign me up properly for phoning in the appointment. He wanted to help with tournament practice, and I was more than willing to help out. I asked which store and what day he would want. I was told he couldn't do a store because he hadn't gotten his 2 shots. I cannot verify how many he had, if any, but he told me he had none, so it would have to be at his place. He also tried to make it my place, but I advised him it's far too small for this kind of thing. I obviously did not feel comfortable with that, so just politely excused myself from contact. I also informed one of the stores that he frequented because he had been showing up unvaxxed and unmasked on multiple occasions up to that point. So those were my initial feelings. I pushed them to the back of my head though, and I would give him a fair chance as everybody else. The next day, another member joined, one who I also had a little history with. Another complicated story, but it ends with her doing something dumb and me getting caught in the crossfire of being banned. It's been a very dramatic year or so. Decidedly unfun in many regards. Okay, hold up. Getting banned is a pretty huge thing to just gloss over when talking about someone else's bad behavior. So I'm giving OP 1 point for good storytelling in an easy and digestible way. But I am immediately revoking it because I'm gonna have to think of this story in a fair and nuanced way. For context, I'm recording this at 4 a.m. on a cup of coffee and no sleep. Being reasonable is the last thing I want to do right now. So, in that spirit, I'm gonna call this a strike 1 and watch out for other red flags. Roll post. Anyway, so our nice guy immediately sends me a message that he wants to call me and tell me something important. I have no idea what it is, but I was having vertigo, so I told him I could do the call tomorrow. Fast forward to then, and it came out something like the following. Is she joining? She's a psychic vampire. She admitted it to me herself. I don't know what you know about the occult, but I take that kind of thing very seriously. Oh, he's being serious. I just wanted to have a small game, and she did nothing but talk about the incident the whole time. I was calm, collected. I advised him, yeah, she was just as welcome to play as anyone else. But I understand she can be draining. I wouldn't pair them if it would make him uncomfortable. I chalked it up and sent him to the admin team in pretty kind words, just that he has an issue and she drains him, so don't pair them up. This is where the story gets spicy. Again, due to the events that got everybody banned, we had a pretty good relationship with her up until that point. To the degree that one of my admins actually knew what happened and was prompting him to come to us trying to accuse her of this stuff. You see, much like the incident where he said he was unvaxxed and tried to get me to his house, he got her to his house, and then when she didn't want to spend the night with him, he went ballistic on her, attacking her in the DMs, calling her a liar, and blocking her along with a bunch of other people. This got us to look further into the issue. We dropped the nice guy's name around the more prominent members of the community, asking for a scale of 1 to 10 how much bad news might he be, as well as how much we can believe this half of this story. It was around the same time we were also introducing a player accountability system because we started getting a bit of an issue with some people never wanting to play with each other again. So that's going to come up shortly. The answer we got was as follows. Do not believe anything he says unless you can personally verify it yourself. He has issues with temper, emotional extremes, and living in his own perception of reality rather than the truth. Try to distance yourself and your friends as much as possible. He is someone to which you can only extend limited trust. So, we went to the girl he slandered, which was part of our accountability system. Right around this time, which was right after I made the post that we would start looking into matters of player accountability, specifically with mention of people who do not want to play with others, I got a sudden message from him that the issue has been sorted out and there wouldn't be problems or drama. This was just before our interview with her, so naturally we proceeded with even more caution. We got the full story, or at least what we thought was the full story, until we finally confronted him. He had invited her over for this game. His immediate starting comments were attempting to flatter her, saying she was one of the most beautiful girls that would show up to the store and what have you. This was what sparked the conversation about the store at all. During this, he was playing her side, saying he felt sorry for her and proceeded to fabricate that the individual she liked, which had sparked all of this trouble, well, his wife was giving him bedroom eyes, and their marriage might be coming to an end. Every bit the nice guy in her corner that one would expect. The night came to a close, and he asked her to stay over. She refused because she had an arrangement in the morning, another game, and this is where our nice guy revealed that typical second half, calling her a liar, telling her she was making things up, openly coming after her that she was a lying, manipulative little girl always playing the victim. This, including the warnings we got about his behavior, was enough for us to proceed with the ban. Regardless, apparently he had approached her earlier that day to say that everything was fine. Again, just as we were wrapping up looking into things. As I said, we are a nice space for many vulnerable members of the community. Ones that would not only perhaps fall victim to this guy's routine, but if they refused him and got this same explosive reaction, could result in some very bad times. Their protection had to come before anything, regardless of what she had to say, and we explained to her as much. So, I was the one to draft up the ban, sharing it with my admins. We also made sure to inform the store of it, not because we have any power to ban anyone from the store, but because we are semi-public. While privately run, we do allow things like walk-ins. And we wanted them aware that this individual was not welcome if he tried to force his way in. We sent it the following morning, being polite and advising that we don't take the slander of other players kindly. And we found a number of red flags in our investigation that deemed us uncomfortable having him around. He would be removed from the server, the store had been informed of our decision, and while he was still welcome to play with people, he was not allowed at our event. What followed was 4 hours of him directly attacking me, starting with something that set off even more red flags. He had recorded the entire incident of her in his home without her knowledge. He proceeded to call her, again, a lying little girl that needed to play the victim, and that she was making things up. He also demanded that we tell him the red flags. Okay, telling a creepy nice guy what his red flags are is like patching the holes in his disguise. We already know he's bad news. We all know he's only ever gonna be bad news. So just handing him a cheat sheet of things he can do to keep the masquerade for longer is a really dangerous idea. As fun as it would be to tell him all the ways he sucks and to leave, I hope for others' sakes that OP did not go through with it. Roll post. I did not immediately respond, in part from the shock that he had recorded 6 hours of her. Supposedly, the timestamp screenshot he sent to prove it is only a 1-minute 45-second clip. And because I wanted to properly discuss with my admins on the matter, this added to the pile before my admins were up. That if she wanted to lie and play games, she would lose. That our investigation was, quote, quite Gestapo. That he personally went after her again. I got the screenshots from her and also asked for his initial interaction the night of so that we had some proof of what she'd told us. And she had said nothing to warrant this banning. That my supposed false allegation of him taking negative action against me would not fly. You will notice no such allegation. And that he would be escalating it to the store. Only a mildly more self-important way to ask for the manager. That my event was the only thing bringing him to the store for business, so he tried to hold that as a threat. Notably, I would learn he never even paid for a membership. And, notably, from the prior incident, he said that, quote, everything they say about you is right. Full explosion. By this time, my admins finally got up, and they had the full tirade he levied against me. We drafted up a response together, basically saying the red flags were this exact temperament that we were warned about, and he proceeded to justify the ban with his comments. We had decided on the ban once we got the warnings about explosive outbursts, keeping our distance, and not trusting him. We also admitted that his victim in this case still spoke very highly of him, feeling he did nothing wrong, which was true because he gave her hope of getting back with the guy that she likes. He continued his explosive tirade. He said that there is truth to his outbursts and proceeded to jab that I should know what it's like being on the wrong meds. Ooh. If he had opened with any of this, or said it was in the past and that he was working on it, we would have more than reconsidered and given him a chance. But no, it took until now. And, on top of it, he had to add the jab. See, I'm autistic, and it has led to troubles in the past. His remark, after trying to make me feel sympathy for his medical condition, was the following, which I will copy directly. I'm autistic, so you can't be mad at what I do. A sad joke. A sentiment which I had never expressed. I have felt apologetic for not understanding nuance before, but never have I said anyone could not be upset with me when my condition had me step out of line. It honestly hurts to read it each time, because even the stumbles I had then, before I was fully aware of my condition, I have still constantly tried to make up for it to be better. But no, I'm expected to believe him and his friends would say, oh, he's come a long way, when he's continuing to outwardly attack me. At this point, he attempted to throw out the definition of slander like I wouldn't know it, and was wronging him, saying that was what he did. Simultaneously, he had also reached out to my admins individually. One ignored him. The other ended up getting asked if I'm gaslighting him. Since we'd made this decision as a team, we knew about everything going up to this. My admin appropriately told him no, we made this decision, and the words I delivered were our statement on it. He then called my admin an excuse of a man and proceeded to go off on him as well. Look at this Chad. Say what you will, but there's so much raw power in saying, ahem. No, the council has denied your right to be mad at me, for I am autistic. Then all the animosity magically evaporates, and he gets to walk on anyone he wants, right? Well, not exactly. Roll post. The next news we had was a few days later. He sent a threat to the victim that he was getting a lawyer. This pushed her off of social media, and at this point, because she was still playing his side, she also proceeded to go after us. blaming us for putting her in the middle of this when it really had nothing to do with her or anything she said. I advised her not to engage, keep her distance, and that the one attacking her and calling her a liar was him, not any sugar-coated compliments or make-believe stories he was weaving for her. She did not take this advice. More on that later. Either way, we went to the store. My initial draft of the problems I sent to the store, with screenshots of his outbursts due to the rapid escalation, hadn't gotten a response, and we wanted to check in due to the urgency. Apparently, he had indeed called. We expressed our issues with our touchstone and expressed that if he tries to approach the victim, the store should probably step in. With the addition of the candid filming part, we escalated the issue from what you would call a mild orange to a hard red. I had, and still am, concerned for my physical safety, especially as all his machinations are beginning to fail. While we were there discussing the issue, he tried to call the store again. He notably hung up when the employee didn't take him with the utmost seriousness, but that was just added. He was still continuing this attack. So, we're in the home stretch now and things are gonna escalate really fast from here forward, so let me recap in a couple sentences. Guy is an awful person who gets banned from the group. Displeased, he tries to sue the people who banned him for slander. I'm really unsure what the end goal of the case is, but we're about to find out. All the while, he has the very girl that he was awful towards in the first place wrapped around his finger. The stage set, roll post. The event was the next day, so we worked out that if things escalated, our stronger admin would stick with me to ensure physical safety, while the other got the store. If it escalated past the store's involvement, then police would be called. It was also at this point we told our players that if he contacted any of them, they were free to arrange whatever with him, but he wasn't allowed back to the event for behavioral issues. We didn't go into more detail than that, even though there had been a few individuals that came to us asking about it, because he was trying to go to them and start a stink. I'm sorry, these people are Game of Thronesing a local game store, and it would be so much funnier if there wasn't a potential threat to people's safety, genuinely, but they're positioning their people, playing the power games, conniving and rule bending to keep him out. All while that guy is doing the same, only to get in. Truly, I'm invested. Roll post. Anyway, the day rolled around and thankfully he reacted like a frightened doe, did his business he had arranged with people before his ban, and scurried off. I was actually pulled aside by the store owner because they obviously wanted to say that they would not ban him from the store unless he did something in there. I understood this. I didn't even tell him he was banned from the store, but that was what he had been trying to spread, that we were targeting him and trying to get him banned. I advised them of the situation and we discussed the length of the issue, and that we had told our players that he was not welcome at our event, but everything was still fine otherwise. I expressed that he had been harassing us all weekend and that I did have fear for my safety, but we had worked out a plan if it came to it. All in all, fine. Until that night. Nice Guy had determined attacking us was not going to work. Time to shift tactics into full sob story. Apparently he had a lung perfusion and now needed to seek power of attorney. He included some screenshots which mentioned a bout of having a certain recent virus that he didn't get initially vaxxed for, and that the 48-hour hospitalization nearly killed him. Time stamping the messages, he would have been infected at the time of showing up to the week I was not there. He wove his tale, saying as much as, "Let me do this. You won't have to be spreading lies about me anymore. I'll no longer be a burden to this community," and an open invitation to share this information if it validated my existence. My admins got a screenshot of what he sent me, cutting out the dramatic details of course, because he seemed to believe for some reason that we wouldn't share notes at this point. I chose that time to just hit the block button. I was done with it, and it was becoming rightfully draining to us all. We, wrongfully, hoped to be done with it and put it behind us. Some days later, my admins got a follow-up message. Basically, a couple screenshots saying what a power of attorney did with the caption, "In case I stuttered," which he spelt wrong, but I'm not a heathen. What a lung perfusion has to do with us, I don't know. I gave a shrug and we kept going on with our lives, except then I got a message in one of my less active accounts, one that I only use for discussing with one of my older D&D groups. In that message, I got the same, "in case I stuttered," but on top of that, a threat. "I have to let the store know of the severity of your actions and the probability of repeat." Also, around this time, we hadn't heard back from the victim of his slander, who he had all but tried to sleep with and claimed, clothes would have stayed on. An actual quote from the message logs she sent us, along with, "Sorry for being a creep." She has now become convinced we're trying to ban him, that we misacted because we didn't go to him in this case, and that it was all a miscommunication between them. That I apparently approached this guy's friends. I didn't. I went to pillars of our community with experience with him, when I should have just talked it out with him. What part of him coming at me with a lying complaint wasn't me communicating with him, especially when I gave him the benefit of the doubt on it? That he was reaching out for help to repair his reputation, and his good friend, the one who invited him, who we interviewed, not good friends by any means, so that he could work on his social skills and his psychotic episode. Singular. Yeah, he gaslit her. Also managed to convince her, after we talked to her already and confirmed otherwise, that she knew he had recorded her. I won't lie, it was pretty painful after having dealt with the last issue involving her, and we had her back through it, that she would openly believe so ill of us. But he gave her hope of seeing some guy that she likes. It's a blatant lie. We actually sent one of us into the band store to confirm it personally, but yeah. So by now, we're all drained. We're in a position where the two of them are now working together to concoct the story we're actively attacking him and trying to ban him. I would like to point out the only interactions since the ban were the 2 messages I sent him. We had also been vague about the reasons for the ban for the sake of privacy and trying not to impact his life or his ability to socialize and make friends. The only people with more details were the store, who I decided to pay another visit to alone, because I had to see about picking up some of my orders that had come in. I looked obviously down and said it had just been a long week and a half, to which I got more news. He had contacted the store again. He had been contacting the store so many times at this point that they were tired of dealing with it. They had discussed at length that he was not banned, but he was calling in again to make the same complaint again, and making up all sorts of shit along the way, trying to do exactly that to us. It was at this point that I was frank about the week and a half now of harassment he had been putting us through. I showed him the threats he sent me about having gone to the store to report the, quote, severity of my actions, and said that they were welcome to all of the interactions if they wanted them, because at this point he wasn't just harassing us, he was harassing the store. Despite it never being our intention, it looks like the nice guy is going to get himself banned from the store. And I feel sorry for his victim in this, because she's latched onto a boat that is going to drown her the moment she stops being a useful tool in attacking us. She burned every bridge of goodwill she had through all the things we went through. I wish that there was a better ending for anyone involved. All it is, to quote him on it, is a sad joke. End post. The canon doesn't seem to have an official ending, but I'll tell you what I think happened. That guy gets banned, he either gets too fatigued or too bored, and then drops his lady after maybe one more attempt to get in her pants. Then OP, in an attempt to seal the power vacuum, kills off every other admin one by one, replacing them with lackeys, Together, they overthrow the game store owner, spelling a dark age of punitive justice for 1,000 game years. Anyways, I can see the sun coming up through my window, so I'm gonna try and get some sleep now. Here's some other videos. Peace.